It was adventurous and amazing because there was no internet. There was no record stores. So we tuned in to find this music via the AM band on like horrible static from overseas on the west coast of Bergen. And sometimes the weather was good enough to pick up some local stuff and we would relentlessly tape it, not knowing what the music was called, not knowing where it came from, but it just felt like real excitement to us. And as a kid coming from hip hop, that sort of really had an impact on me in the 80s, and b-boy culture in general became something that just encompassed everything I wanted to be about. And when I heard this music, these fast break beats, well, fast at the time, it was like 120, 130. It just spoke to me in a way that I hadn't experienced before. And in doing so, started doing the research we could, ended up with the Norwegian Yellow Pages to phone the English embassy to see if they could help us get phone numbers for local record stores in London, which they did.
Yes.
So the first records I bought from overseas, I did with money orders from my dad's money for my birthday. I was 14 at the time, and the way I got them was by them playing me records down the phone. Me calling them from the landline to their landline in the UK, and they played me records down the phone until my money order was filled. Then I had to wait 3 months for the records to show up because of customs and problems. And then I usually had to pay extra to get them out, but it was worth every moment. And the way we would learn about music, besides the radio station, was we'd get copies of the English magazines, the underground fanzines. There was like a network of us that was super, into the idea of rave culture, and it was something brand new for our generation, and it just took all my time. And we had a group of friends that inspired me to the level of, every time I talk about the people that facilitated this, it's always the same three people. It's Kay, who later went on to become Polar and had a career alongside me at Certificate 18 and Moving Shadow back in the day. But there's also a guy who should be mentioned who had even a much greater influence, which was this guy called Jens Otto Vikan, Doc David. He had his first release with me on rugged vinyl under the, I think we were called Quicksilver. And it was a 4-track EP. And what he could do with 4 seconds of sample time, I've never, ever come across.
Crazy.
He was amazing. So that was the foundation of me both wanting to DJ and like finding the rave culture, coming out of hip hop. And one morning I woke up and I went through my record collection, and every day off from school I would literally just DJ all day. And I had 4 records I wanted to play. I never wanted to make music. I always wanted to be a DJ. I grew up in a household with music everywhere. And I asked my dad, listen, I kind of need a computer because I want to try this music thing and my friends know how to do it. And he was like, cool, I'll get you a computer. And 4 weeks later, I signed my first track to Hopper and Bones set up a label called Outcry. And they had an offshoot called A-Level, and they signed the first tune I ever did. And that was the start of it. That was the very start of sort of me getting some sort of impasse into the UK, was by actively going out to call the numbers on the records, And then it all accumulated into one big moment that ended up being heartbreaking for me, but at the same time, the biggest blessing. I traveled over to the UK with That's of my music, and I went to Speed at Mars Bar. And I tried to give my dats to Fabio, Scotty, Lee, and I'm missing someone. I can't remember it for the top of my head that night. And they all kind of refused to take my dat. And I was talking to other people in there, and everyone's like, well, this is kind of a UK thing. You don't look like you're from here. You don't speak like we do. It's like, I didn't fit in. And for some reason, maybe all of them had a bad day, because they are all my mates and I love them today. But what happened was I was heartbroken. So I went back to Norway, and I was like, well, how can I just want to fit in. I want to do this. I want to do my part. And I had my parents send me to a language school in Hastings for the summer. But before that, I phoned up these numbers on these record labels because I was affiliated with the DMC at the time. I was doing the circuit, the DMC circuit. And Slipmat was the guy who hit me back out of nowhere. And at the time, 1993, he was a big deal.
Yeah, big time.
And he sent me a box of records when he found out I was going to Hastings for a language store, to the local records shop. And in doing so, I walk in there, no one knowing who I am, this kid from Norway, and there's a box of records from Slipmat. It's like they're going to start asking questions. So the guy owning the record store was also the promoter from the Crypt in Hastings, which is still going. And on the premises of me DJing blindly from those records they sent me to the store, he gave me an opening gig for Randall that weekend on the Friday at the Crypt. And on my way back from those 4 weeks of spending nothing but time with the locals, I passed by London again and got a haircut, and they all took my dad's.
Oh, yes.
And 3 weeks later, I found out that Bailey had cut some, Fabio had cut some, Ryder had cut some.
Done deal.
And it was like, that opened up the sort of, I managed to close that gap by faking it.
Yeah.
And that's just how much I wanted it. So anyone who sort of asks about my English accent, it came from realizing that, in my opinion, at that point, in my autistic mind, I needed to become one of you to fit in. And that also meant studying the culture, on like realizing where it comes from. You know, if I want to be a part of something, I want to embrace it and like live it, because it's going to be my truth. And then from that, sort of getting the original impasse and getting my first records cut, it was a question of how do I approach a label? And again, it was a phone numbers game. I called up all these different numbers, and there was a label from Camden called Rugged Vinyl, which at the time had some records out that I really liked. And I sent that over to them, and they signed 9 of my things off the spot. Went over to the UK, first time with a record label meeting, and this is tail end of 95. Yeah, tail end of 95. And start developing a relationship with them. You know, they're starting to develop me as an artist. I'm learning about this world I know nothing about. And then randomly on my next trip, I run into someone who's going to be a large part of my life going forward, which is Larry from Calix. And at that time, Calix was 2 people. It was Larry and it was Chris. And I both met them, and we struck up a friendship around music. And for years, anytime I came to England or London, I would stay with Larry and develop a really good friendship. And we got to know each other in 95, 96, that period. And we didn't make any music together until 2002, because he was obviously in a duo. And at that time, you know, I did Black Science Labs, Through the Eyes of a Scorpion, and Certificate 18, legendary label that hosted Photech, Oily Source Direct, Clute. So it was like a natural progression for me to seek the kind of sounds that really influenced me at the time. And for me, Photech was the pinnacle of production and the one I set out to beat. And why wouldn't I want to be affiliated where he was, because he was such an inspiration to me. Which later on also led to me randomly sitting at a coffee shop in Oxford Street. And then just told by Rico at SRD, I had to be there that day. I flew in from Norway for it. And as I'm sitting upstairs, Photech's walking up the stairs with a big smile on his face, a bag and a headphones, and he just, not even talked to me, just sets me down, he puts some headphones on, and he starts playing me the stuff he's got coming. And after he's done that, he asks me if I want to be a part of it. So that sort of ventured me to America for a bit, on and off. I lived with Photech in LA, on and off for about a year, worked on loads of things with him. And as I returned to the UK, I started working with Larry of what eventually became a duo out of my solo career as TeeBee. We spent night and day together everywhere, became a married couple. And at one point, I think we both just needed a little break from each other. And it was relentless. And when we signed to Rammed as well, full disclosure, I was never going to be on a major. That was the one thing I said in my life. I'm never going to sign to a major. And that comes from the knowledge and the conversations with the people who's been to a major, and also understanding what that is about. You become numbers on the boards because you're part of a business, and it's called the music industry in that part. It hasn't got much to do with art anymore. So when we'd done All or Nothing, everything was great. We're on RAM, we're having all the fun, we're winning all the awards, we have a great team of people. Everything that we thought would happen is happening. We're busy, we're playing every festival we've ever wanted to play. Everything is great. And then we get the phone call one day that, oh, by the way, you're now on BMG. And in me, everything shifted that moment. I'm a man of my word, and I know I have 2 albums to do with Larry, but we are now on a major. And we are on a major that has Adele, that has, and buys up RAM, and you know, I have signed no non-disclosure agreement, so I can speak my truth. And at that point, Andy C. and Scott stopped being involved. So from 2014, they no longer had anything to do with RAM. The original staff that we relied on and loved wasn't really a part of us anymore. And we were excited about, you know, initially going into this bigger operation and like getting a feel for it. But we quickly realized that, you know, we weren't a priority. So the next 2 records was hard for me to write. And it was hard for Larry to write because we knew we were in this predicament, but we didn't want to be in it. And I think that also affected a lot of the feelings that we had around our music as a duo. And I also think that at one point we kind of exhausted our ideas a bit and we got a bit complacent, and we kind of realized that we're getting paid this much, we gotta please this crowd, we gotta do it this way. And from an understanding of human psychology and also herd following, it was a great experience because you figure out what works and why it works and how it works, so you can use it to your advantage, obviously, because music is psychology at the end of the day. But it became too far from the values and the core of me musically. So I had to rediscover myself because I lost myself in all of it. So when our contract ended, I went dark for a reason, and that was to rediscover who I am, both as TeeBee, to try and get my label Subtitles back up and running, and to just figure out what do I want to do next, because ultimately I've done everything I set out to do. You know, every festival, every club show, everything. We did everything that we could possibly do while still navigating that red line that goes right there, that if you cross it, you can't come back. So we tried to stay under that red line and navigate that, you know, and that also became difficult. And at the end of it, pandemic hit and personal relationships move. I obviously became a father as well, which changes a person massively. I guess it was just time for us to take a break. Whether it's infinite or not, I don't know. He's my brother, you know. I wish him nothing but the best. Smash it, lad. The album has taken me 15 years from its inception in my mind to its current manifestation. It's my love letter to this culture, and it's me trying to represent what truly this culture is for me, with my spin on it in the most honest way I can. I hope you like it. DJ Craze sent me a track he'd done with his vocalist called Palmer Reed for mixing and mastering. And after hearing 2 seconds of Palmer's voice, I pressed stop and I called Craze and I said, I have an idea. We need to form a trio. Well, first and foremost, having finally found a team of people that I believe in and who believe in me and us and the vision that we have, I'm delighted to have signed with Flexout, with Marcel and Tom, and to build the team that we're building around this project, and the visions around it is totally going to be fulfilled as a result. So first up is the TeeBee solo album, The Cosmic Carnival. which has got another few singles, and then the lead single is that Greater Than remix of The Way with Palmer featuring. And yeah, it's that sort of ties the TeeBee thing straight into the Greater Than thing, and that's how I wanted it, because I wanted to facilitate my album, like get that story told and give it the moment that I feel it deserves, and celebrate it for what it is, which is my love letter to this culture, and then move into the project that is much greater than myself. And yeah, and that's sort of, those things in parallel will work great. And I'm so happy to have both of the projects on the same camp with the same team, and yeah, we're just gonna smash it.